post it.
Very good. That's sorted. Yes, good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And did you just want to chat, or did you want to do a session, or we'll see what wants to happen, or whatever?
Oh, well, what I wanted to do, Lou, was just have a chat between
Yeah.
you and talk about our experience of our dark night of the soul,
Okay.
um, especially in times like this, because I really do feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up now.
Right.
And a friend of a friend said the other day, gosh, I feel soulless. I feel like my soul has left. And immediately I was like, I know what that is. So very, very gently tried to send her a message of what it was. And I thought, yeah, the spirit keeps saying to me, please talk about this.
Good.
And rather than me just go on my page and speak about it,
Right.
to me, it's really nice if there's somebody to bounce off of. And
Sure. Sure.
I thought
Great.
if there's two of us talking about it, then perhaps it will inspire others to
Great.
talk about it as well.
Sure.
Because I don't know about you, but I had no idea what was going on.
Well, yes. I mean, there are the whispers, and then there are the shouts, and they're both designed to get our attention. Sure. And everybody gets a bit of each. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, for me, I went from, I always lived with my moral ego, let's say, and
Good.
probably my higher self without actually realizing what it was. So I
Right.
always needed to do what was morally right
Good.
and felt bad if I didn't do it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, that lovely voice went away, although it was very irritating at times because I couldn't just
Right. Do what
do
you wanted.
something that was, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It was always,
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Then I went from that to the most vicious, cruel voice within me, which I know now to be my inner critic, my super sadistic inner critic. It was
Okay.
terrifying.
Right. 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 I remember we would talk about some of those experiences. You and I. We've talked about some of those things. Sure.
Yeah, yes, yeah, we have, haven't we?
Yeah.
And do it during a session.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is, yeah, for me, I really felt like I had been possessed by something else.
Right. 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 I'm
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. Did you have the same experience?
Well, I mean, I can relate to this struggle of listening to my conscience and trusting it sometimes, and not being strong enough to trust it at other times, honestly. And it's so important these days, I think, for all of us, to be living as cleanly and as clearly as we possibly can, and to be, of course, praying, meditating, journaling, doing everything we can to keep digging a little deeper, and surrendering more, and being more humble and more honest. But sure, the struggles were there. They've pretty much diminished quite a bit after this last year. I think that's part of what this last year was about, and it's now that things are moving in such a great way, I'm really, really grateful. But yeah, it's been a year of deep inner work and surrendering, for sure.
Yes, definitely. I think through mine, and I'm guessing that that is what I went through. I mean, mine lasted 10 years. They
Right.
say dark
Oh
night of the
God,
soul.
sure, sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's not a one night stand, it's a marathon. And so go on. I was interrupting you there.
Oh no, that's okay. And if I really wish I'd have known then what I know now. And I wish that there was people like you around that I knew about, because
Thank you.
now I know that. So, oh, you're most welcome. Now I know that surrendering to it and going with the flow, just going with it, is the answer to it being not quite so long and fearful and traumatic. Actually, I found it really traumatic.
Sure, honey.
So if I'd have had people around like you and now me,
Right. Right.
I would not have fought it as much as I did.
Sure.
It was, but because I visualized so much, I saw my soul getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and all of a sudden it felt like it had left me. And
Yeah.
I felt like a shell, an empty vessel, completely empty, flailing around like a lost child.
Sure. Sure. Well, I think there's truth in that. I mean, so I had this house fire that destroyed everything that I'd built up over the previous 13 years, and ended my relationship basically with my housemate. And I've just moved in around the corner and have managed to carry on, but yeah, there's a lot of depression and despair and frustration and anger before and after all of that, and but I've kept up with, my own inner journey and healing, and doing work with and for people, and getting work from other people. And, eventually you see the light and you go, okay, that's my stuff and that's my light. And help me, call upon the light of God to move me past my stuff and forgive myself and heal my life, and be very, very honest and responsible.
Yeah, I think I think the challenges. Well, I know the challenges never ever end. They never end.
No, that's right.
We're growing all the time through the challenges.
Exactly.
And for
Yeah.
me, the big challenge is, when a big challenge comes along, is really testing what I have learnt over the last 5 years, all
Sure.
the inner work that I have done, and
Sure.
all the connecting and getting to know my highest self, my highest guidance.
Yes.
When it really comes to its own,
Yeah.
when the challenges come along, because it's so easy to slip back into old ways.
Sure.
So
yeah. Yeah.
and until we've actually done the inner work and really connected with ourselves, I think that the darkness continues to come, doesn't it?
Sure.
Do you agree
Sure.
with that?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it takes courage to face our fears and our character defects, and like in the 12 steps, you make that moral inventory every day, basically, and you say, where am I still, needing more love and light and healing and forgiveness and acceptance and responsibility and all of that, and keep striving to, make amends where needed and necessary, and take responsibility and forgive and be forgiven, and just live in that joy and that happiness and that love and freedom, which is really truly our destiny. And it's the fears and the attachments, the attachment and resistance, that's what keeps us getting distracted, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I would say also, add to that, if I may, that the attachment also to our old self.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
when we're going through the darkness, it was like something was being ripped away from me, and
Right.
I had to go through this trauma, if you like. I mean, it really was. I found it very, very traumatic because I didn't recognize myself.
Sure. Sure.
And that, I guess, brings on the depression. Well, the disconnection from self brings on the depression and the anxiety. From from my experience, I can say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I would also say is, now that I know that, just acknowledging what is going on rather than fighting it,
Right.
acknowledging the darkness, because it
Yeah.
is all part of us,
Sure.
is a huge step forward.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to go away. I
Right.
used to play loud music in my
Right.
to get away from the voice, to drown the voice out.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. I'm not really hearing this. That's what I was doing. I'm not really hearing this.
Right.
But neither was I hearing my the old self either, that I didn't have the old voice in my head either. It was just this constant nagging, critical, self-judgment, cruel voice that made me feel worthless, absolutely worthless. And it really took hold. So I'm guessing that everybody's experience is different. And
Yes, and similar, I mean, Eckhart Tolle talks about the voice in the head, and A Course in Miracles talks about the ego as well, and that we will need a voice, because that's the way the mind works, and consciousness works. But like you're saying, we need to learn how to release these painful, fearful, struggling, attacking voices. And the only way, I think, for us to do that is through love and compassion and acceptance and forgiveness.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
For that part of us, all of that,
Sure,
for
sure.
that part,
Yeah.
because it's not going away. It can't go away, otherwise we are no longer whole.
Well, it changes, is my experience, and I think that's what you're saying too, Suzanne. It as we become more conscious that we're the chooser of what we're focusing on and what we're believing, then eventually we start having more peace of mind and more quiet, in our thoughts, and more space between thoughts, and also, choosing more loving thoughts and more of those loving messages from ourselves.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people say, and I would agree, that when you're in the absolute depths of that, I couldn't choose nice thoughts. There was no nice thoughts. I couldn't
Right.
swap it around. I didn't know how to
Sure.
bring
Sure.
the nice again.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, that's when Abraham talks about, if you're on a train going this way, you can't just jump on a train going that way. You can't just turn the train around 180 degrees and be going 60 miles an hour in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So again, that's why we have these things, we call a spiritual practice: prayer, meditation, journaling, listening to other teachers, being inspired, beautiful healing music, poetry, anything that raises our spirits, brings us back in alignment with who we really are and want to be and to become, and all of that, our future self, or higher self, or truer self, but yeah, it has to be there's part of it that is conscious, and there's part of it that's unconscious, like you're saying, and that's where we need to be, patience, practice, and persistence, just willing to chip away at it day after day after day until the energy shifts, and that's where it's great to have other people that are experienced on the journey, who can tell you, you can't speed this up. It just takes as long as it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I want to do this between us today, because it's, if people feel the way I felt, I feel like talk about my experience, because it is rough. It is rough and it is tough.
Sure.
And the more you fight it,
right.
the more it fights back. And I completely agree that the daily devotions, or the daily disciplines that we have, is absolutely essential. And at those times when we are in most of need of it, for me, is the time that most of people remove it. Yeah, resist it. And don't do it. But those are the times that are really, really essential, because it takes the edge off the feelings that are coming up.
Right.
And we manage to feed our mind beautiful, inspirational and motivational things, because it is all, as you know, it's all about what we feed ourselves.
Right.
And for me, when I got caught up in the super sadistic ego, the inner critic, and focused on that voice, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. If I'd have known what I know now and had spent time meditating and spent time sitting quietly and listening to all these lovely people, like Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer is one of my go-tos. Your morning prayers, actually, it was today. It was a really welcome event in my life, because normally I'm at work, so when I saw it come up, I thought, oh yes, come on, let's, you know, which is great. And what a start to the day.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That makes my day. That's my practice to keep myself sane, you know, as much as to be of service to everyone else. And it works very nicely that way. It's, you know, I think we've turned a huge corner in our soul's journey with the beginning of this year, listening to Patricia Cota Robles and others. The last 2 years have been, like we're saying here, really times of purification and death and surrendering and healing and forgiveness and all of that. And, now we're really, we have something to offer people, from our own experience, of course, that you only can teach from your own experience. And yes, as you said at the start, I think more and more people are really hungry and thirsty after wisdom and knowledge, is the way I like to put it, and again, we're all just babies, we're all just starting over every day, and maybe we know something, but there's things we have yet to remember or to relearn, or however you want to put it. So I'm really genuinely excited about this next year. I think it's going to be unprecedented, because people have had 2 years of old structures and old promises being broken and falling apart, and people have to get on with their lives somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think that is for the collective, actually, the last couple of years, because 5-6 years ago now, I started my inner work with Poppy.
Yeah.
I haven't found it the last couple of years. I haven't found difficult. In fact, the lockdown was just lovely. Spent so much time on myself. Whereas before, before doing the inner work, I would have got caught up in I can't be at home. I need to get out. I need to get out, distract my mind. Do something. And
no, it's been like a year-long retreat for a lot of people, or two, or
It really has. And for the rest, for a lot of other people, it's been really traumatic for them. And that's the resistance to the waking up part, if you like, the inner peace. Because I did a live actually on resistance. Because what we need the most is what we resist.
Yes, if we're, yes, that's true. The thing is, if we, guilt demands punishment, is the phrase from my guides. And when you're talking about this voice, this inner critic that's cruel and merciless and punishing and hateful and enraged, that's because somewhere, we feel guilty about ourselves. And so if we have this time and space to come into peace, like we're saying here in the retreat of this lockdown and all of this last couple of years, eventually we stop fighting with ourselves. It may take a long time, but eventually there's no one else to blame and there's no one else to be distracted by. And you got to go, gosh, I guess I am actually in charge of my life. What can I do about this? And it's, breakdown, breakthrough is the way I put it, and sometimes we need one in order for the other to be possible. It's just,
I completely agree. And I think we can't have one without the other. We simply can't.
There needs to be that surrender, Suzanne. And when we've had breakdown, breakthrough a few times, I just want to agree with what you're saying there, hon. Then we're more willing and less in resistance, denial, and controlling, I think.
Well, definitely, because, and also more aware of what is going on. I
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
myself when I'm slipping back into maybe a little bit of depression and not feeling as upbeat as usual, I immediately now go to, oh, I'm headed for a breakthrough. Fabulous. Right, come on, let's sit back. Let's do a little bit more work.
Right.
And the breakthrough will come quicker.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pick up on what you said there, Lou,
Beautiful.
actually.
Well, can I just take a moment to acknowledge how
Yeah.
great that is, that you're that empowered about your own recovery and your own growth. That's wonderful.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Yes,
Sure,
that's
honey.
something that I get to practice, actually, is taking a breath and really soaking up how well I've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tend to,
Self-love is the path to authenticity. How can we be courageous and brave and authentic and vulnerable if we're afraid of who we are?
yeah.
You know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that for me, I want to go back and talk about, what was I going to say? Yes, for me, when I was going through it, I
Yeah.
was looking outside for and grabbing people, help me. And it wasn't until I suddenly stopped and turned inwards with help that, and you were a huge part of that, I've got to say.
Okay, thank you.
Poppy was brilliant, and I met you through Poppy.
Right.
And there was just something that really resonated, and it was almost like I couldn't get enough of you. I needed to listen to you every day.
Well, I'm glad I could help you. You're doing fine on your own these days, which is great to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So I would say to everybody, stop grabbing outside. Listen to people, and obviously reach out to people who can help you.
Yeah.
But really know that it's only you personally that can do this work. Somebody can guide you.
Yes, that's right.
To find what's going on inside.
Yes.
And that actually brings me nicely to me, because I'm a transformational mindset coach.
Okay.
Trained with Poppy.
Right.
And
great.
So doing it on myself, I can relate that to other people.
Yes.
And really get them to come back to themselves, come into their heart.
Good, honey.
The same as
yes.
Just by asking your mind questions. It's a fabulous process, as you know. Just to ask yourself questions.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. So, and I would say the journaling and the meditation, even if it's a guided meditation.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. I do guided meditations every day of my life, Suzanne. I have done for 35 years.
Guided by somebody else or yourself?
Yeah, no. Guided by Lazarus, Oren, Abraham, Bashar, Cryon, Steve Nobel, the list goes on and on and on. There's
so can I ask, do you listen to them in your ears or you channel them?
No, I just listen to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not channeling all the time. And like you, I need somebody else to set the path for me, so I can remember what it feels like. I do an hour of Lazarus every morning before I put my feet on the floor,
Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous. And that's, I was like, I can't meditate. I can't sit still. I can't stop the thoughts. And slowly, I realized that it actually isn't about stopping the thoughts.
Right.
It's allowing the thoughts to come.
Yeah.
But keeping your focus off of them. And when you notice that you're listening to your thoughts, bring yourself back.
Right. And you're talking traditional meditation.
Yes.
Conscious breathing and all that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Which is what I do now. Okay. And I personally am guided by my higher self.
Sure.
So I get into meditation and really quickly connect.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, I found and I find, and I'm very, very quick at noticing the difference now.
Yeah.
Was my ego, what's the word? Mimicked my higher self. So it's the same voice for me. It's still my voice,
Okay.
And the ego would be talking to me, which sounded like the inner
Uh-huh.
the higher self.
Uh-huh.
Very, 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 very subtle difference. The only thing is, it started using different words than my higher self would use, and I would very quickly be like, "Oh, no, that's I'm listening to
Right.
the wrong voice."
Right. Well, that's great. That's great. You've become very discerning, honey, and that's essential, of course. Is it loving or is it controlling? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but to start with, the difference is so subtle, and it's not until the slight different words come in and like, oh, hang on, no, that's not high self. And
Sure.
that's how I tell the difference, and very quickly, like I say, and we can work it out really quickly which voice we're listening to,
Sure.
because exactly what you say, by the gentleness
Yeah.
of the approach and the words.
Right. Right. Do you pray as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
yeah, I
All
do.
right. Because, I mean, to me, that's great. I mean, I'm not, I'm just curious. This is just expanding on what you're sharing here, because, I would call on the angels or my higher self, soul, and spirit to release me and, close the door on anything that is not for my higher good. This kind of thing, more consciously and more quickly, I think, these days than ever. So this would be, one of the ways I would work with that.
Yeah, me too. And yes, I speak directly to my higher self. And I suppose when the challenges arise,
Yes.
that is when you have the split mind.
Right.
When there's no challenges, we can align, and then it's usually the higher self continues to come through. We ask ego, or I do ask ego to step aside, or I thank ego for stepping aside and
Okay.
allowing the higher self to
Yeah.
come through.
Yeah. That's great.
Um,
That's great. Thanking the ego to step aside, declares that you are now in control of your thoughts, not your ego, which is powerful in itself.
yes, and absolutely. And to me, it is it's about self-love of every part of us,
Sure.
every
That's
part of
right.
us,
That's right. Yeah.
and re-educating the ego, because it's very willing actually to
Uh-huh.
serve the higher self. It
Yes.
just needs teaching how to do it.
That's right. 100% agree. That's exactly right. I mean, we'll need an ego as long as we have a physical body.
Yep.
But it's yeah, no, like you're saying so beautifully, Suzanne. The more we're focused on serving and loving and healing and being authentic and courageous and open-hearted, the more our ego will support that and cooperate with that and all of that, help that to happen,
Yeah, absolutely, because the ego benefits from that as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's a teachable, trainable part of our consciousness. What we're talking about here is where most people are unconscious of how much of their own free will they're subverting to their ego's programming. Like you said, a lot of which is this guilt, shame, blame game that we all grew up under. Of never feeling good enough or worthy of love or worthy of forgiveness. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And what I have found through my inner work is that ego actually, once it gets past the resistance, once it realizes that it is safe, this path we're taking is safe, because that's all it wants to do is keep us safe. And sometimes it does it in a not a very nice way. But
well,
it'll be
yeah.
it'll sorry.
Go on. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
But it'll be in a way that is familiar to us, that we have always allowed the ego to guide us. And once we come in and decide to take control of our lives and allow our higher guidance to guide us,
Yeah.
ego very willingly does step aside once it realizes. And it realizes that it is part of that journey and is accepted. And what I tend to do is give every part of me a voice. We all make a decision
Yeah.
that that
Yeah.
is that is right for
No, that's
right for
good.
us. And
Sure.
it's speak to everybody within and make sure they're all happy and feel safe, because
Okay.
when they all feel safe, that's when the blocks can start to
Sure.
fall
Yeah.
and we can move forward with ease, actually.
Yes, that's good. That's great. Yeah, I like that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Um, yeah, any form of meditation is going to help us to take dominion over our thoughts and bring us into a deeper and deeper state of peace and trust and receptivity. And then every time we do that, isn't it, we come back to the conscious mind with a stronger sense of connectedness within ourselves. And then when things show up that are not what we're expecting or asking for or intending, then we're very discerning and we go, okay, this is something I need to look at. But yes, we keep coming back to what we have control over, and then the ultimate control is surrendering all control to God, Source, Spirit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes, I completely agree, because they are the our higher guidance is the overlooker. That's what can see
right,
everything. It
right,
just takes trust and faith and belief and inner work.
yeah,
Without the inner work, it's a lot harder
yeah,
to trust,
right,
because if I go back to what I taught some students, was
yeah,
that higher self says do this or don't do this.
right,
Ego says do this or don't do this, because for me, ego always gives me a reason why.
yeah.
Higher self never does. It just gives the instruction. And that's how I learned to discern between the two.
Okay. That's fascinating. I never heard that before. That's great. Yeah. I mean, I love what you're saying, Suzanne. So my guides say our trust is all based on our perception and availability, receptivity to our deepest truth. And like you're saying, when we're in conflict or confusion or fear or anxiety, very hard to access that, but it becomes a more manageable the more inner work we've done, as you said, the more practice we have, and the more we trust ourselves. We can only trust God to the degree that we know how to find trust within ourselves. And God doesn't do it for us; they do it with us and through us. Most of the time, I think. So our, as Abraham says, our work is to be the cooperative component of feeling good and feeling self-loving and feeling aware and trusting and enjoying life and looking for opportunities to enjoy life and love each other and share with each other. And then things do come out of the blue in the way we least expect, you see.
Yeah, oh, I completely agree. And it is, I smile all the time and thank the universe, God, spirit, all the time,
Good.
because so many beautiful things occur.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're tiny, sometimes they're big.
Sure.
Sometimes
Sure.
you see them coming, you're walking the journey, you
Yeah.
can see what's going to pan out.
Yeah.
And other times it's a beautiful surprise.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Life is full of wonderful surprises. That's one of my favorite affirmations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you
So,
mentioned Wayne Dyer. Wayne says, you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. You know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that took me a while to actually fully
Likewise.
understand that.
Likewise. Yes. Absolutely. Because it's not the way we've been taught to think, like you're saying, hun.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant, sweetheart, because again, it's like the more, like I read one of the quotes this morning. Nikki Jade is in the UK. She's a lovely poet and a friend. And she said, when you're triggered, you should actually say thank you. Because did you hear that part? Because this is, and it's that takes a lot of humility. That takes a lot of inner honesty. Like, oh, this thing that's disappointing me, this is great for my growth.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's exactly what I have learnt, and that's exactly what I do when I'm triggered. I thank the person, I
right,
thank the situation.
right,
As soon as you do, the
yes,
trigger calms down because
exactly,
the
right,
message has been heard. So
right,
the emotion that arises, all the emotion wants is to be acknowledged. And
right,
it's like the emotions come, they can't give you a piece of paper and say there's the message.
yeah,
We get to discern for ourselves
yes,
what the emotions are telling us.
yes,
And we have been taught, I don't know about you, but I was taught, and I'm sure many people were,
I'm sure.
to sit on your emotions,
Yeah, yeah,
don't show them,
yeah, yeah,
um
yeah,
push them away.
sure,
But
honey.
for me, they're
Yeah,
still holding that message. And
right,
when that emotion comes up next time, it's not only giving you a new message, it's trying to give you the old message as well. And
right,
that, in the end,
right,
the emotions are so powerful and so
yeah,
strong
yeah,
that you have no choice but to listen.
yeah, yeah. I know. It's the whispers do become shouts if we don't respond. If we're just reacting, and like you're saying here, we've been programmed basically to resist and react to things that are not pleasant or easy or fun or what we want or what we expected. But yeah, the real extra credit of our spiritual growth is saying thank you. What is this showing me that I can't heal in an easier way? And in terms of manifesting, like we were just talking about, it's those resentments and those angers and those disappointments that we haven't released and forgiven and taken time to
Mm.
clean up yet. That's what it continues to be between us and what we're asking for.
Yeah, there was I did a little exercise actually. Have I got time to share it with you?
Of course.
Yeah, I did a little exercise, and it came about from listening to somebody else's story, and all of a sudden my imagination was like woo, and I could see myself climbing up a ladder,
Right.
lifting a loft hatch,
Right.
and I went into what I now call my attic, which is my subconscious. And I
Okay.
know that hypnotherapists take you down to your subconscious mind, but
Whatever.
I see it in my third eye.
Yeah.
And
All good. All good.
however,
Yeah.
exactly, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
where it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw it was full of furniture covered in cobwebs.
Okay.
And I needed to find this key, and it was in a little tiny box.
Right.
And all I thought was, why do I need all this furniture with
Right.
cobwebs all over?
Right.
So I started chucking it out the loft
Right.
hatch,
Right.
and all of a sudden I had a clear space. And that felt so much better. Then I started getting more information coming in.
Right. Right.
And then another time I went to the left side of
Right.
my attic,
Yeah.
and there was boxes, and they were covered in dust as well. And I thought, oh, I don't need them. Come on, get rid of them. So I was they were big crates. And I started to throw them out, and I see angels catching them, and they all disappear, and then it all gets transmuted. And I think I threw 3 out, and then I stopped and I said, actually, do I need what is in these boxes?
Mm.
And then I was shown huge drawers came out of my mind, all lovely files, all in place, very, very tidy.
Right.
And I knew that was all my memories. That was all
Right.
the information I needed.
Right.
Everything that was in these boxes covered in dust, I
Right.
didn't need. So I got rid of the whole lot,
Right.
and I spring cleaned. I
Right.
literally, I had my mop and bucket, and I was up there cleaning. I
Right.
had windows that were clean. And then when I made all that space, so much more information that
Wow.
was beneficial to me
Right. Right.
started coming in.
Brilliant.
And that's
Brilliant.
when I started channeling,
Yes.
really channeling my
Oh,
highest,
good. Yeah.
because it had the space to come in and leave the information.
Right. Right. Very good. Very good. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, we're all filled up with things until we empty those things out, those ideas, those beliefs, those experiences. And, I mean, Patricia Cota-Robles talked about this phase from the 11th of November to the 21st of December being this 40 days of purification that we've all gone through. And because we've gone through that, there is this big new space that's opened up that we're all going to fill from here on in terms of consciousness and healing. It's the heart knows what the mind struggles to believe is my quote from my guides. And so to me, that's inspiration and being intuitive and, being inner directed rather than just living from the outside in and the mind down, etc. So yeah, the more spontaneous, the more natural, the more relaxed, the more joyous, the more peaceful, the more generous we are with ourselves and the people in our lives, the more there's a flow, to everything that's unfolding. And it's getting simpler and clearer, I think, for all of us.
Yes, I do hope so. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are struggling with it that come kicking and screaming and resisting and, frightened. So I thought, really, it's time now to give out a little bit of information and a little bit of help, which is, what I wanted to do. And thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me, because it's so much easier because you inspire me and bring memories to me and information on it. Oh yes, let's share that.
Pleasure. Likewise. So, thank you. Yeah, well, Suzanne, can I just tell you, I'm just so very terribly proud of you, my friend. You have really bloomed and blossomed, and you've really come into your own, and it's a joy to know you and to see you unfold. So here's
lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure.
Because we see sometimes we can't see our own growth.
Right. That's what other people are for.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Well, thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
Sure, honey.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Yeah. Today in the Mayan calendar, which I do on the morning prayers, it's white cosmic world bridger, which is very, 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 ethereal. And, really this whole, we're just receiving a lot of ideas, inspiration, blessings, messages, energies from spirit. And I'm sure, as I said, this year is going to be dramatically different for all of us that have put in the work, compared to the last few years.
I completely agree. I really agree. And I did I hadn't meditated for, probably a couple of weeks. And I was really guided to, please, you need to do this meditation.
Yeah.
So I sat down, and again, it's resistance. That's all it is. Resistance.
Sure, darling. Yeah. Everyone's got some,
Yeah. So I sat down and did my usual routine and see the roots from my root chakra going down and the column going up, and I send it up 3,000 feet. And usually a white light comes down from the light rounds. This time it was gold. And I was just about to stop it. And no. Okay, if that's what's meant to happen, come on. So I allowed all this gold light to come down all the way through me. And I bring it all through my body, my hands, everywhere, slowly. Right. When it hit the ground, it went boom. And I felt it and I heard it.
Wow.
And the gold light shot right around the globe.
Wow.
And I really felt like I had done something so beneficial to help the collective in some way.
Yeah.
And even it was such a lovely feeling.
Sure.
And I liked it so much, I actually shared the meditation on my coaching page.
Good. Great.
So that other people could experience that as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, honey, you are a wonderful channel, and you've always had this incredibly powerful imagination. And, now that you really have, crossed this bridge in your own consciousness of your worthiness, you see, and loving yourself more and being kinder and gentler with yourself, I promise you, anytime you sit to meditate, something is going to shift for you, and you're going to, I'm sure, be bringing through a lot more, ideas and techniques and energies and messages for people. So just keep getting out of your own little way there, my dear friend. You see, that's the key,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. It's so much is coming through now,
Yeah.
and sometimes with us all, I'm like, no, I'm not sure about that. It and it comes again, like, come on, just get on, do a live, and I'm doing a live as often as I can, just to give out bits of
Yes.
information. And
Yes.
I definitely share my channels. Usually through the meditation, a channel comes through, and I write it down afterwards, and then share it on my page.
Good.
And when I read it to my family, they always say, "Did you write that?" I'm like, "Yes," but it comes from the
Sure,
higher
honey.
self. Like,
Sure.
wow, I didn't know you could write like that. Well, neither did I.
Sure. Sure.
you know,
Yeah, no, I couldn't be happier, honey. Good for you. Keep bringing the medicine. That's what you're here to do. Is lift everyone's spirits, my own included, and show us what's possible. And bless you for your willingness to do that. That's the gift. That's being of service.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to say, thank you for showing me the way.
You're very welcome. I'm happy. I'm glad it landed. I'm glad it made sense for you. You're
Yeah.
doing fantastic. Absolutely.
Oh, you blew my heart open. Absolutely blew my heart open. 5 years ago when I listened to you, gosh, yeah, even the first time I knew. And I remember actually talking to you, and my mind wanted to make sense of so much. And I remember you saying to me once, you're overcomplicating this. Go with it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes. I mean, this is again why you know just showing up. You see, even meditation is just showing up. You know, and it's being available. A lot. I think a lot of what we're working on right now, also, um, excuse me, is integration.
Oh,
Don't
without a
you?
doubt. Oh, without a doubt, the
Yeah,
shadow work.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Gosh, big time.
Sure. The shadow, but also the light.
Well, with the integrating the shadow, yeah, integrating the shadow actually brings the light.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when we're not running from the shadow, then we are more willing to trust the light. I'm just thinking of Marianne Williamson's quote, where she says, "It's not the darkness that people are afraid of; it's the power of their own light." You see.
Yep, yep. It's actually when you just said that, yeah, no, that completely resonates, because in my experience, I was terrified of the light. I didn't know how scared of myself I was.
Sure, sure. And you see, we all have this wounded inner, I hear you, we all have this wounded inner child, that thinks guilt, shame, and blame make sense, and there's reasons why, we deserve to feel these feelings and nobody else can really understand our own personal inner struggle and things like this, where we've taken on our family's shadow. That was what you said that just sort of triggered all that for me to say all this. So the thing is, it's like, as you have, moved past your own illusions of perfection and guilt, shame, and blame, accepting, loving, forgiving yourself, then you can be that as you are that clear and open channel. And then you turn around and you say, look, this is what you get if you do this journey. You get this, and it's a great thing.
Oh, isn't it just
Yeah,
stunning?
yeah,
Oh, I can't tell you. The veil goes, the mist goes from your eyes. You can see clearly.
yeah.
And I find myself speaking to people, and they're saying, "Oh, the news is this and that," and I haven't watched the news for 5 years. And the question I ask them is, in your life, do you see around you what you hear on the news?
Oh,
And it
great
makes them
question.
stop and think, and they're like, "No."
No.
How many horrible people and incidents do you encounter? And they're like, actually, yes,
Yeah.
none. And you could see a light bulb coming on.
Yes, yes. It's a brilliant question. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because listen, even the news, I mean, the news especially, you're feeding your mind,
Oh yeah.
feeding your mind all
Yeah.
this negative stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think that is one of the things that people don't realize. It's not just the food you put in your mouth,
Sure.
that it's what you're feeding your mind.
Completely.
And that
Completely.
all comes down. And
Yeah.
to the way I see it, my higher consciousness is above my mind
Yeah.
and is channeling all the time for every single one of us. And
Yeah.
it's the mind that blocks what's coming through with all the nonsense that's going
Sure.
in.
Sure.
So the less we feed it negativity,
Yeah.
the easier it is to listen and trust and understand actually our intuition.
Yes, that's right. Well said. To listen to, trust, and follow our loving inner guidance is the way my guides say
Yeah.
it. Yes, and you're right. It's we have to first. That was gorgeous. We have to first feel safe, loved, and supported in ourselves, and then we invite the universe to show us how that is true. You know,
Yeah.
again, Wayne Dyer and Neville Goddard and all these wonderful teachers. What you believe in your heart, that is what you're calling into your life.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, what a tough lesson that was for me to learn. Wow.
Well, yes, yes. I mean, I'm still learning it. I promise you every day, but it is great, honey, because, when we really trust love just that much, then the blows the doors off the hinges.
Without a doubt. And you're absolutely right. It only takes a little tiny bit of trust
Yeah.
For the universe to come in and meet us there.
Yes.
It'll meet us
Yes.
each step of the way.
Yes.
And the more we're willing to meet it halfway,
Right.
the bigger
Yeah.
the beautiful experiences we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to say, Lou, and I'm sure you agree, that seeing all the little tiny things in our life and actually acknowledging them and thanking
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
that's what helps us
Yeah.
expand
Yes.
and meet the universe half.
Sure, beautifully said. Yeah, no, that's a great reminder for me. I mean, the more I've taken time, Suzanne, to be grateful, and just sit in gratitude and appreciation. My guides say love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, they're all synonymous vibrationally to one degree or another. So the more I do that, the more absolutely things keep showing up that I'm grateful for. And when you're, as we're learning this, hon, then you go, okay, let me be grateful for this. Let me be grateful for that. Let me be grateful for this. Things that seem big and challenging and, outside of reach. And I don't know how it's going to happen. Let's just play the game all the way here. Let's see how good we can stand it, as we say.
Yeah, definitely. And I would completely agree with that. Is also being grateful for the challenges, because that's when we get to push past our blocks and get out of our comfort zone.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Absolutely. There's a gift in everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it sounds, the way we're talking, that it's really, really easy. And it's probably easier for us than it was when we first started.
Sure. Well, my joke is once you've tried everything else, it becomes very easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you say about the heart knows what the mind doesn't.
Yeah.
And I often see in the groups I'm in on Facebook, people say it the other way around, the mind knows what the heart doesn't. And I'm always like, oh no, that's absolutely not true. And I always quote you.
Oh, bless you. Well, thank you. That's very sweet to hear that. I mean, again, it's like the tragedies, are a demand from the universe to, dive very, very, very deeply into our heart is where I'm going with this. And, we might grieve and we might suffer and we might, have anguish and sorrow and despair and all of that. But again, if we have the courage to really feel our feelings, then we will come out the other end of that stronger and clearer and more willing to understand and learn how to live consciously and joyously. If we don't do that, then as you said so eloquently, it just collects interest. It just builds and builds and builds until something has to fall apart.
It explodes. And the way I see it and the way I explain it about myself is the emotions, they went in a box, go in a room, in a box, in a room, in a box, in a room.
Right. Done. I don't feel that ever again. Done.
Yes.
Never look at that again. Done.
Yeah, that's right. And for me it was yes. Yes, exactly. It's like,
that's what you think. Yeah.
Excuse me. And all of a sudden, there was no more room in the room.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and the door would no longer close, and all of a sudden, it all came pouring out, and it all came pouring out at once.
Which is, again, a huge gift, even though a huge challenge,
Yes, absolutely. And like I say, I wish I'd have known what I know now.
But
that's why I want to share this.
Okay.
So other people have to fight so hard.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, you're saying it very, very well, honey, that, what we've had to pay the biggest cost to learn or to heal or to understand or to integrate, is a life lesson. It's why our soul brought us to this earth at this time, And then, as you say, if we're wise, if we acknowledge our oneness with all of life, then we strive, as we both do, to seek opportunities to share what we've understood and learned and healed, so other people don't have to suffer quite so deeply.
Yeah. I mean, even through the depths of the darkness that I was in, I kept saying to my family, there is a reason that this is happening to me. And I know that I am going to be helping people somehow. I didn't know how. I just knew that what I was going through was not for nothing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, honey, this conversation we're having right here and now today, my dear friend, this is one of like a dozen things that has manifested over the last few weeks, and it's like I'm coming out of the limbo and back into the world, and it's pretty noticeable. And because it was quite a long and deep limbo, it has my full appreciation and respect. So I just want to share that with you. This is perfect timing here.
Oh, good. Oh, my goodness me. I was so inspired to get in touch with you. I was meditating yesterday and I asked, how can I help? And immediately it was reach out to Lou, do a live. And okay, that's what I'll do. I finished meditation, and before I allowed any thought to come in, I picked up the phone and messaged you.
Great.
And then the fear came in and the anxiety and okay, how can I get out?
Why were you fearful and anxious to chat with me, sweetheart? We have a get.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was. No, it definitely. I wasn't fearful and anxious to talk to you. Definitely not to meet with you. It was, I suppose, getting speaking me out there, and I decided that I was going to do this with no notes, because I usually do it with notes. However, when I allow myself to just channel, oh gosh, it's just so much easier.
It's called natural, It's called like being here now. Yeah, darling.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you shared all that with me. See, sweetheart, maybe that's why I was asking why that wanted to come up, because I mean, again, this is you can trust yourself. You see, you do know enough. And me too. I mean, I'm God's holy fool. That's my job description. And part of the joy of the last few months is that I've been playing my music here and playing out, as I mentioned at the top, and I have played more in the last 2 weeks than in the last year, or 2 years. And I'm really in positive shock about all of it. And it's opening up a lot of doors. And the phrase that comes to my mind is, your music is your magic. And you see, and I just want to share with you here, hon, when I play and sing and write and all that, I'm in this other part of my consciousness completely. I'm off the sidelines and totally in the game and completely having the time of my life, committed to it, and making mistakes and recovering and carrying on and having a wonderful go of all of it. So I just want to offer that to you, Suzanne. The more that you've come a huge way, I want to say again, in terms of learning how to trust yourself. And it takes great courage, sweetheart, to face all these fears. And, Poppy is kind of the spiritual drill sergeant as far as I'm concerned. She'll kick everyone's ass in the room, if that's on the agenda that day.
Yeah.
And, smile doing it, basically. And so, you really got to be up for the real deal when you show up in her classroom. I know that, and love her for that. So you've gone through all that. I'm saying you're now, really prepared. I'm really guided to share this with you for just trusting yourself and letting things come to you naturally and being easy about all of it. You see, the thing, what I want to say, honey, is the thing about women in power. Okay. And again, Poppy's a great example of a woman who's in touch with her own personal power. This is what mankind, humanity, and men need to see in the world, that women's wisdom and women's compassion and women's, deep love and, divine feminine energy and creativity and love of life, all of that, mankind and the world has never been more at odds with all of that than it is right now. It's never been more lost or disconnected or confused about how to be healthy and happy and free than we are right now in this prison planet we've all been creating together the last 2 years plus. So I'm just going, let's have the women. Let's have the powerful women. Let's have the passionate, natural, beautiful, powerful women. So that's my sales pitch to you, my friend, to love yourself and be out there as you.
Oh, that's great, Liz. Thank you. Thank you so much. And, thank you for acknowledging my growth. I am so aware of it now, and I love it, and I love me, and I love the high guidance.
Great.
I love the feeling of the connectedness to everybody. And everything, actually. My grandson, I talked to his mum, and I said, I'm sure there were times in past lives that I've been drowned and burned.
Sure.
And she actually is very accepting of me and is always fascinated with how I speak, and I encourage him. He kissed a tree yesterday. He's 19 months old. He kissed a tree. I was like, oh, that's just lovely.
There's hope for us all. Bless his heart. Yeah, tell him Uncle Lou gives him a big hug. Wonderful.
Oh, I will do.
Yeah.
Lou, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Anytime.
Share the link. Oh, it's lovely.
Sure, I will.
If you could share the link with me, and I will pop it on all of my pages.
Great. Great stuff.
Let's get out there helping people and just by sharing.
Great. People can find me on Facebook, and I do my little morning prayers Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. for our UK friends. Great. Groovy.
Yeah, and really well worth a listen. A great start to the day, your prayers, Lou. And I'd like to just say that people can contact me through suzannelouisecoaching at gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook. And I really look forward to helping anybody who wants to contact me and help them on their journey.
Brilliant. Well said.
Brilliant.
All right, darling.
Thank you, Luke.
Peace and blessings.
God bless. And you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. Have a great evening. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay.